Hello, adventurers. Hayes here. Just wanted to bring you a quick guide on my new Druid build, segueing away from the pulverized build that I had created a short on previously that was the Unkillable Bear build. Today I'll be talking about my Storm Werewolf build. This build's quite a bit squishier than the Werebear build, but definitely has the damage to back it up. Currently pushing tier 25 dungeons, really enjoying it. So let's go ahead and dive in and take a look. So you can see here right off the start a little bit different than most builds. I have two basic abilities. I have played around with these and I think I should put some more points back into Storm Strike, but this is going to be a basic attack build. So I'll only be using my basic attack as my main damage. You can see I've moved that over to Q and my main attack is going to be Claw. The reason for using Claw is going to be because of my weapon, the Great Staff of the Crone. This is required for this build, so if you have not acquired this yet, I do not recommend trying this build. But once you've acquired this build is very powerful and I have very much enjoyed it. So as you can see here, Claw is now a Storm skill and also casts Storm Strike for 126% of the damage. I did get a pretty low roll on this. I would love to see one up at the 150% mark, which would definitely push this build a little bit further. So back over to abilities, just to talk about the basic skills. We want as much plus Claw as possible, as well as we can max out Storm Strike for that normal damage to be increased. I saw that I had a little bit more value in other points as we go through this, and I'll discuss that when we're there. So from here, you can add these additional points do apply when your Storm Strike procs. So just an FYI on that. So I am running the 15% chance to immobilize, as well as the additional targets hit. Additionally, I'm running the attack speed for Claw, and then I'm running the chance to trigger twice. So with this, Claw triggers twice, has a chance to proc this 2 times as well. Going over, we're running no core skills. At this time, I'm not picking up any core skill talents. One that I would recommend is the crit strike chance against close enemies if your crit strike chance is low. Mine's currently sitting around 30-40%, and I find that comfortable to proc some of the effects that I have, as well as I'm more reliant on lucky hit at this point than I am crit chance. So really here it's decent and I enjoy the move speed, especially for farming. But as you're pushing higher nightmares, I found more defensives are better. For the defensive trees, we're putting 1 point into Earthen Bulwark, and we're running the Earthen Bulwark Enhanced for Unstoppable. This is really big for this build because when we get down to our key passive, we are basically having no cooldown on Earthen Bulwark when we're proccing our Nature's Fury. That's very important for this build because if you get CC'd, you are going to die. You are not tanky as you are in Werebear. Additionally, I'm running the fortified version of this. This is going to fortify me every time this is cast. Again, since this is almost always up and we're spamming it, then we're going to be able to get that life back as fortified. Additionally, I'm running Howl. I do recommend having plus points on your gear for this. It always feels bad putting points, in my opinion, in defensives, where you can put them in more damage. As of right now, I'm running just 1 point. It's healing me for 822, which is really big. That's almost double my potion just instantly from a spell. So really increasing this up a little bit more doesn't really feel that necessary. We're more in this for the additional points that we put into Bloodhowl. So on this, we have the reduce the cooldown by 1 second. We don't really care about this. You're not going to have any problems with cooldowns. Nature's Fury is going to be proccing a lot. We have a legendary item that's reducing the cooldown by 7 seconds every time Nature's Fury procs. These defensives will be up all the time. What we're really after is this here, the increased attack speed. This build is all about lucky hit and attack speed. Both of those go hand in hand. The more you hit, the more chances you have to proc your lucky hit. Going over, we have some generic, I think, must-haves with any build. For Druid, these are just so strong. 15% non-physical resistance, as well as 15% damage reduction after using a defensive skill. Again, because of our cooldown, this is almost always up. Going down further here on the tree, we're not picking up any companion spells, But once we jump down to our Wrath skills, we are running plenty of these. We go almost into the full lucky hit, like storm tree part of the Wrath skills. The one that I have opted out of and I've been playing around with, again, because of our cooldown reduction, Hurricane is almost always up. These points can definitely be pulled out of Hurricane. You can run one Hurricane. I've been running a lot of Hurricane because I feel like it's starting to scale a little bit better with storm damage and everything, but definitely I could see an argument to move these points, like I said, up to Storm Strike or maybe into more defensives like the Howl if you need it. So once we go down here, we are into our ultimate tree. On the ultimate, I am picking up Cataclysm. I'm trying to figure out a way to fit in Grizzly Rage. But with Grizzly Rage, we would want to use the aspect that changes Grizzly Rage into a werewolf skill instead of werebear. I really am not a fan of Maul. I don't like the slow attack for this build. We want to keep fast attacks. So I haven't really figured out a way to put that in here, so I've kept Cataclysm. Cataclysm is a little bit underwhelming of an ultimate. That's why I kind of opted out of that duration increase. But it's a good single target. Honestly, on AoE, I don't find it as good, which is weird. You would imagine this would be pretty strong on AoE. I personally see it more impactful on a single target encounter for a boss or something like that. Additionally, I'm running all of the nature increase spells here. So we have our Defiance, which is just giving us flat damage. Then we're running Nature's Disaster here. This is just going to give us increase. Again, almost all of our targets are going to either be immobilized at all times, giving us that extra 12%. And then additionally, I'm running just I have some plus gear for this. Actually, I have no points in this at this time, but again, this is another nice flat damage increase. We are using our Earth skill again, which is going to be the Earthen Bulwark. Every time we're casting Earthen Bulwark, we're getting an additional damage. We're getting additional damage from this. Finally, here we have Quick Shift. This is something, if you're running the werewolf chess piece that changes you into a werewolf, make sure you know this will not proc your next one here. So when using a shape-shifting skill, you deal 15% damage. That's great. The next one here is upon shape-shifting into werewolf or werebear form, you get a damage reduction against elites for 5 seconds. Super strong. I really like it. But if you have the true werewolf chess piece, it makes your other skills cast like you are in human form, but you're staying in werewolf. So you're not going to get this proc. I'm actually not running that chess piece at this time, so I went ahead and put the points in here to be a little tankier. For our key passive, this is what makes this build tick, and what makes, honestly, in my opinion, makes this build so much fun, which is going to be Nature's Fury. Every time I'm casting my claw, because of this weapon, it is a storm skill. So now I'm casting Claw as a Storm skill, and I'm hitting 3 targets with Storm Strike as a Storm skill. That means I have a 40% chance, roughly. I mean, look, I'm not a mathematician, but I have two 20% chances to cast, or for Nature's Fury to proc when I attack once. So I'm attacking super fast, and I'm procking my Earth basic off of that as well. So constantly when I'm attacking, I'm going to be hitting with these 2 basic skills, and then I'm going to be proccing Earth Strike. So I'll just demonstrate that real quick here. So now that I'm out, I'm going to go ahead and start attacking, and you'll see that as I'm attacking, I'm getting these earth spikes that'll come up every now and then. There you go. And those earth spikes will proc. Putting points in earth spike really didn't feel great. But overall, the damage has been really good, and I've really enjoyed it. Now, I want to talk about what makes this build tick. So with that, the first thing that makes this build tick is going to be the Nature's Fury aspect that reduces all non-ultimate cooldowns. So as of right now, I have a 7-second one. Every time I'm proccing those Earth Spikes from a basic attack, or for that matter, when I cast Earthen Bulwark and it triggers Cyclone Armor, or I'm using my Hurricane and it's casting Boulder, those are all reducing the cooldown of all of my non-ultimate abilities. So that's going to be Bulwark, Howl, and Hurricane by 7 seconds. These cooldowns are already pretty low, so when I get these procs, which are very often, I'm having no cooldowns at all, and I'm able to spam these and keep these up at all times. Next one here is a necessary one for your build. This is again going to be critical strikes have a chance to charge the air around you, and this will periodically cast lightning damage by 2155 to other targets. So these are super good, and you're critting so often and attacking so fast that this is proccing like crazy. Okay. Additionally, here I have basic skill reduction. I recommend this. You're only using basic skills, therefore this is going to help reduce your damage taken. Over here, Hurricane. This is one of the ones that's a big driving factor of Hurricane being up. We're reducing that cooldown. Hurricane's going to be up almost all the time. This is going to allow us to have extra damage on Claw. So right now we have 11 plus Claw. With this up, it'll be 12, it'll be 13, and it'll give us that extra damage. Additionally here, I have basic attack speed. I recommend this as well as mandatory for the build. This one's just going to allow you to do more damage with your basic attacks, which again is that main source. And now we're going to get into the lucky hits. I have a lucky hit one here. This is 17% chance to overload the target, pulsing damage around them. I really recommend this for AoE. It really helps with that clear time and just adds that additional damage. And then the final one I'm running is the Edge Master, which has unfortunately been disabled. I'm looking for a replacement for this right now. I was playing around with it, seeing maybe if they've enabled it again, because I know they did disable it last week. But this one, again, I think is going to be a priority for this build once it's back re-enabled, as it is the go-to with this. You're always going to be at max fury, or at max spirit, I'm sorry. You're not using any type of other spells that are using your spirit, so your spirit's always going to be max. This is just going to be a flat damage increase. Finally, we can jump over to the spirit boons here. On the spirit boon side, I do recommend taking the reduced damage to elites. Again, this is not the tankiest build in the world, and we want to get whatever reductions we can. For the second one here, I did go into specializing into the boon of the Hawk. The reason for this is that I want the critical strike chance as well as the attack speed. I can see an argument as well as going for the 30% crit strike damage, depending on the balance of your skills. Personally, for me, the attack speed feels better. I just like the feeling of attacking faster versus the harder hits. Going on here for the pack aspect, or boon, sorry, we're going to take the 10% of your maximum life when using a defensive skill. Again, when we're using those defensives, they're almost always up. This is going to also just maintain and continue to stay up. Okay. From here, final one. This one, you have a little bit of a choice. Again, I don't like Cataclysm that much. I wish it did more damage. Unfortunately, it doesn't. So for that, I have actually gone away from the last key, or the last boon here, which is the lucky hits have a 10% chance to reduce the cooldown of your ultimate skill by 2 seconds. And instead, I opted into the lucky hit of a 20% chance to emit lightning damage. But again, I can see where you would want to run either the Calm of Storms, or for a little more defensive, the heal here for 3% on critical strikes with shapeshifting skills. Again, your claw is going to be your main damage. You could run this for a heal. So just depends. These three are all good, and I could see arguments for all of them. Finally, over to our Paragon tree. For the Paragon tree itself, it is pretty easy. I have noticed, and this may just be a little bit of a controversial opinion, I don't like the legendary nodes. I, for the most part, don't see the value in them compared to the rare nodes. The rare nodes, one, can be buffed by your glyphs, as well as in general, the rare nodes just seem more powerful. So we'll go through this, but I that's just my mention. Obviously, do what you feel is the best for you and how it feels. But these are my recommendations. For the first side, I did go damage and max life. I don't see a reason why we need the extra armor. 100 armor definitely seems like a lot more lackluster than having 20% additional damage. So going from there, we take the right side for 20% addition or for additional damage as well as max life. The first glyph I am running that I pick up here is that when shapeshifting, you have a 20% chance to cause your skills to critically strike. Again, this is just to make sure I'm proccing the aspect that I have on my gloves. So for this again, if you're running that werewolf chest piece, you do not run this glyph. This glyph will not work. Your werewolf, unless you're using a werebear ability, you're not shapeshifting out. So if you're only using human and werewolf abilities, you'll always be a werewolf. Therefore, you're not shapeshifting out. So when you're not shapeshifting, you will not get this proc. From here, the first tree that I actually get is Thunderstruck. So this Thunderstruck tree, I'm immediately going to the left and picking up the crit damage and vulnerability damage. You will notice because of the way that damage is multiplied, vulnerability is going to be a massive increase alongside that crit that you're getting. So crit damage and vulnerability are two separate pools that are then multiplied together for your damage instead of added, and that vulnerability damage is going to make you hit a lot harder. From here, I'm going up to that legendary node. And like I said, these legendary nodes don't seem super powerful. This one is deal 30% increased critical strike damage against vulnerable or immobilized enemies. Okay, that's great. But if we move back down here, this one's giving me a blanket 30% critical strike damage and 10% vulnerable damage with no other buffs. None. So like that's to me that's so much that is insanely stronger than this. But nevertheless, it is a benefit, but I just want to mention that if you're going to be skipping these in the future, that sometimes these just aren't that strong. From here, we're going to the center, we're picking up the additional critical strike damage as well as the crowd control damage. You can see here that I am a little low on the intellect. You want to make sure that you are focusing on these, trying to get those bonuses because these bonuses will tremendously help your build, but I'll definitely be working towards that in the future. Additionally, going to the top here, we're taking the storm damage node with willpower, as well as we're taking the damage reduction to vulnerable enemies because we're keeping enemies vulnerable at all times with Hurricane. So they will always be vulnerable. It does have a slight cooldown, but for the most part, we will be keeping this vulnerable status up on enemies as we're killing them. For the second glyph, I'm running lightning damage right now. This is 12% lightning damage to healthy or injured enemies. I enjoy this. I feel like it is doing a lot. I also have a crit damage one that I would like to run. Unfortunately, that crit damage one, I could not get the points to maintain that one at the bonus, so I decided to go with this lightning damage one for now. But once I've leveled up that crit damage one, this crit damage will most likely go here. But again, the lightning damage is very helpful and feels good too. From here, I go to my last board. My last board is actually the Lust of Carnage board. I have no intention of getting this legendary node, but I went with the Lust of Carnage board because of all of the werewolf damage that is on this tree. Remember, because of us running Claw, the werewolf damage is just going to buff our basic attack even more, as well as there is a lot of critical strike on this as well. So you'll see here that you have your critical strike damage. Additionally, I believe there's over here, we have another critical strike damage. Attack speed. That's what it was. So we have the critical strike damage down here, as well as we have the attack speed over here that I'll be working my way towards before I go off this board to the next one. So definitely you can play with this, feel like how you like. I recommend werewolf damage, storm damage being your priority, as well as much critical strike damage that you can get. Vulnerability damage will be your second after the critical strike damage, and it will definitely be the most change that you see in your damage profile when you get that vulnerability damage. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. Overall, this has been a really fun build. It's been really enjoyable trying to put it together and piece together the parts of it. It's a very simple build to play. Just spam your basic attack and enjoy watching everything die on the screen, spamming your defensives and Hurricane to keep up that vulnerability. I hope you guys give this build a try, and definitely if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well, and thank you for watching.